The void between stars is not silent. It thrums with the low-frequency heartbeat of pulsars, whispers with the ghost light of nebulas, and crackles with the static of cosmic radiation. But for the sentient races of the galactic concordance, the silence they feared most was the one they had cultivated themselves. A silence of expectation, of finality. 4-5 standard cycles, the Armada had hung in the dark beyond the edge of the Talaris Nebula, a constellation of shadows blotting out the starfields behind them. They were the Veln, and their ships were not built, but grown, great crystalline structures the size of moons, their facets gleaming with cold, pitiless light. And before them drifted their masterpiece. Their apotheosis. The reason for their silent, patient vigil. The celestial seed. To call it a starship was an insult, a failure of language. It was a mobile world, an engineered planetoid with a crust of woven neutronium and a core of harnessed singularity. Its surface was a geometric nightmare of towering spires and deep lightless canyons, all carved from a single flawless piece of cosmic amber. It was the culmination of Veln evolution, their answer to the heat death of the universe. A vessel to outlast time, to sail the dying embers of creation until the last star winked out. And it was almost complete. Aboard the command spire of the Veln flagship, the unblinking eye, Archon Kalen observed the seed. His multifaceted eyes reflected 1,000 tiny images of the majestic terror. His carapace, polished obsidian, clicked softly in the sterile cold air. The final integration proceeds, Archon, chimed a subordinate, its voice a series of harmonic chimes. The gravitational stabilizers are sinking. In 6 of the system's rotations, the celestial seed will awaken. The concordance watches. They understand this is not a weapon. It is transcendence. Kalen shifted, a sound like grinding stone. They watch in silence because they have no alternative. Their fleets are pebbles against our mountain. Their sciences, childish puzzles. They fear because they see the end of their era and the beginning of ours. The era of the eternal. His gaze turned to a solitary dim star on the edge of the sensor display, ignored, a footnote in the grand celestial cartography. Its third planet was a mottled blue-green marble, wreathed in primitive orbital clutter. The data scroll beside it was dismissively brief: asterisk system, Sol. Dominant species, humans. Classification, pre-concordance, Tier 3 societal cohesion. Technological index, industrial information transitional. Threat assessment, negligible. Note, species exhibits high volatility, short lifespan, anomalous creativity/aggression paradox. Recommend observation post-transcendence for study. Asterisk. The humans, Kalen chimed, a note of disdain in the melody. They still broadcast electromagnetic noise into the void, do they not? Songs and stories, and pleas for connection. The chatter of infants in a silent universe. They have detected the gravitational distortions from the seed's tuning, the subordinate confirmed. Their planetary networks speculate. They call it the anomaly. Their theories are imaginative and incorrect. Kalen dismissed the image. A species that measured its significant journeys in the lifetimes of its individuals could not comprehend a journey that spanned epochs. They were irrelevant. The entire concordance, with its bickering alliances and ancient stagnant cultures, was irrelevant. Only the seed mattered. But in the quiet offices of the United Sol Directorate, in the humming control centers buried deep under Martian regolith and lunar ice, irrelevance was not a state humanity accepted. Dr. Eris Thorne floated in the microgravity of the Sol Discovery Agency's flagship, the U.S. Curiosity, her fingers dancing across holographic panes filled with cascading data. The image of the Talaris anomaly dominated the viewport, a blot of wrongness in the stellar map. Gravitational waves were bending around it. Local spacetime curvature was off the charts. It's not a natural phenomenon, she stated, her voice tight. And it's not just sitting there. It's tuning itself. Like an instrument the size of a gas giant. Beside her, Captain Idris Vance, a man whose face was a roadmap of old radiation burns and older worries, scowled. The concordance hails continue to be non-responsive. Standard diplomatic channels, emergency frequencies, even the old Veln merchant bands, nothing. Just that silence. It's a wall, Eris murmured. They've put up a wall between us and whatever that is. The few stray signals we've decrypted from the concordance's public bands aren't fear, Idris. It's resignation. Awe and resignation. They're not preparing for war. They're preparing for a funeral. The bridge was a tomb of soft beeps and hushed voices. Every scientist, every officer, felt the weight. Humanity had spent a century reaching for the stars, finding only ruins, quiet neighbors, and the vast bureaucratic tapestry of the galactic concordance. We were the new, loud, impulsive kids on the block. And now, it seemed, the block was about to be demolished for a new eternal highway, and no one had bothered to tell us. On Earth, the reaction was a fractal of panic, denial, and desperate hope. News streams showed astronomers pointing telescopes, politicians forming useless committees, and ordinary people looking up at the night sky with a dread not felt since the dawn of consciousness. The anomaly was now visible in the southern hemisphere, a faint, shimmering smudge that shouldn't be there. A smudge that was getting brighter. Eris isolated a new signal, buried in the gravitational noise. It wasn't electromagnetic. It was a pattern imprinted on the fabric of spacetime itself, a deep, resonant thrum that echoed in the quantum foam. "It's a countdown," she breathed, her blood running cold. "A harmonic resonance building towards a critical frequency. When it peaks." "When it peaks, what?" Idris pressed. "I don't know. But the concordance believes it's the end of their history. Our models suggest the peak energy release would sterilize every biosphere within 50 light-years. Not with fire, but with a fundamental retuning of physical constants. A soft reset. Life as we know it wouldn't be destroyed. It would become impossible." The silence on the bridge was absolute. It was broken by a young communications officer, her voice trembling. "Captain, we're getting a directed tight beam from the Concordance Observatory on Proxima B, audio only. It's for us." Idris nodded. "Put it through." The voice that filled the bridge was ancient, weary, translated by AI into softly sibilant English. It was the voice of a Xanti elder, a race of gentle, plant-like philosophers humanity had befriended. "Children of soul," the voice whispered, as if afraid of being overheard. "You must listen. The Veln have achieved the final craft. What you see is the celestial seed. It is not a ship of war. It is a ship of after. When it awakens, its resonance will create a bubble of perfected static reality around it, a paradise for the Veln, eternal and unchanging. But to create this bubble, it must draw the potential, the chaotic energy of possibility, from surrounding space. Your star, your worlds, the very quantum fluctuations that allow for life and thought, will be stilled. Frozen into a background state. You will not die. You will simply never have been. We are sorry. We have argued, pleaded, but there is no force in the concordance that can stand against the seed. Our time is over. Yours was so brief. We are sorry we could not know you better." The transmission ended. Idris Vance looked at the faces of his crew, the fear, the anger, the dawning horror. He saw Eris Thorn, not with despair, but with a fierce, blazing focus. The kind of focus that invented fire in an ice age, that looked at the moon and built a ladder. "They're not even fighting," Idris said, his voice low and hard. "They're just accepting it." "They've had millennia of stability," Eris replied, her eyes glued to the seed's resonant pattern. "Their cultures are built on acceptance, on harmony with the inevitable. Ours isn't." "What are you thinking, Doctor?" Eris zoomed in on the resonant frequency. "They see this resonance as a perfect, unassailable tone. The final note of the symphony. But what if we introduced a dissonant harmonic? A counter-vibration. Not to fight their note, but to change the song. You want to jam a planet-sized tuning fork?" "I want to compose," she said, a wild human light in her eyes. "I want to introduce jazz." What followed was not a mobilization of fleets. Humanity had no fleet that could scratch the seed's surface. It was a mobilization of mind. A global, pansolar hack. The Veln, in their sublime arrogance, had made one mistake. They considered the chaotic, vibrant, noisy energy of a living stellar neighborhood as waste product to be siphoned. They saw the radio waves, the thermal bloom of cities, the magnetic chatter of a busy star, the unpredictable creative surge of 7 billion conscious minds, as static. Humanity decided to turn the volume of that static to 11. Eris Thorn's theory became Project Counterpoint. Its command center wasn't a sleek starship, but a repurposed fusion drive test facility on Saturn's moon Enceladus. The plan was audacious to the point of insanity. Use a network of every deep space comms array, every planetary defense radar, every orbital power beaming satellite, and the Curiosity's own experimental warp core stabilizer, not to transmit a signal, but to vibrate. We can't match their energy output, Eris explained to a global council, her image broadcast across worlds. We'd need 100 suns. But we don't need to match it. We need to interfere with it. Think of it like shattering a wine glass with a specific note. We find the seed's resonant frequency, and we broadcast the exact opposite waveform, perfectly out of phase, right at the point of its awakening. We don't hit the seed. We hit the space it's trying to stabilize. A Xanti scientist, risking exile, privately sent a data packet. The seed stability is psychic as well as physical. It is tuned to the collective placid consciousness of the Veln hive mind. A violent, discordant, emotional signal could be disruptive. That was the second part of the plan. The part only humanity could conceive. A message went out across Earth's networks, on every channel, in every language, send them your noise. And humanity did. They didn't send polite greetings or reasoned pleas. They sent the screaming guitar solo from a century-old rock anthem. They sent the cacophonous joy of a Brazilian samba parade. They sent the deafening roar of a crowd at the World Cup finals. They sent the quiet, heartbreaking melody of a lullaby sung by a parent to a child. They sent the chaotic data stream of the entire global internet, every argument, every meme, every work of art, every line of code, every love letter, every angry rant. They sent the raw, unfiltered, beautiful, terrible, living noise of a species that refused to go quietly. The Curiosity, armed with a jury-rigged resonance inverter built from its warp core and half the comms array of Mars, took point. Its mission: get close enough to the seed's emission point to deliver the final, focused counterpulse, the concentrated essence of humanity's discordant shout, right into the seed's heart. The Veln detected the approach. On the unblinking eye, Archon Kalen observed the tiny fragile vessel crawling toward the seed like a gnat toward a star. The humans. What are they doing? He chimed, more curious than concerned. Analysis suggests they are attempting a resonant interference. A primitive concept. Their total energy output is less than a single seed stabilizer. It is a gesture. Like an insect buzzing at a hurricane. Let them approach, Kalen commanded. Let the concordants see the futility. Let them see the last noisy spasm of a transient species before the eternal silence begins. The Curiosity plunged into the gravitational shoals around the seed. Alarms blared. The ship groaned, its superstructure stressed to the limit. On the bridge, Captain Vance held the course, his knuckles white on the command chair. The seed's resonance is building to peak, Eris. We have one shot at this. Eris, jacked directly into the resonance inverter, was swimming in data. In one feed, she saw the perfect soaring sine wave of the seed's awakening frequency. In another, she saw the chaotic, glorious mess of humanity's combined transmission, a fractal storm of sound and light and meaning. Her job was to find the antithesis. To craft the perfect wrong note. It's not just a frequency, Idris, she gasped, her mind racing. It's a feeling. Their resonance is pure, cold order. Forever. Ours has to be warm, chaotic, temporary. It has to be alive. She began to compose, not with equations alone, but with instinct. She wove the scream of a newborn baby with the last sigh of an old man. She layered the sound of a thunderstorm over a desert with the crackle of a hearth fire. She set the relentless, hopeful beat of a human heart against the Veln's still, eternal tone. The Curiosity broke through the final layer of distortion, and the celestial seed filled the viewport. It was terrifying in its perfection, a tomb for the future. They were now well within the predicted sterilization zone. Now, Eris. Do it now. She unleashed the pulse. It was not a weapon. It was a story. The story of humanity. A story of short, bright lives, of love found and lost, of curiosity, of rage, of compassion, of stupid jokes and profound grief. It was a wave of experience hurled against the monolith of permanence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the flawless amber surface of the celestial seed shimmered, like a pond disturbed by a stone. On the unblinking eye, Archon Kalen felt it first. Not through his sensors, but through the hive mind. A psychic feedback, A screeching, wailing, joyous, terrible cacophony. It was not an attack. It was an infection. The image of eternal silent stillness that powered the seed was suddenly flooded with a billion contradictory sensations. The taste of chocolate, the pain of a stubbed toe, the dizzying joy of a first kiss, the profound boredom of a Tuesday afternoon, the fiery determination to protect a child, the irrational love for a pet, the glorious, messy, unpredictable chaos of a life that mattered because it ended. The seed's perfect resonance stuttered. The harmonic wave, once a pure, rising note, now fractured. It encountered the human counterpulse, a pulse that celebrated change, decay, innovation, and rebirth, and it could not compute. Deep within the seed, the engineered singularity, meant to provide eternal stable power, experienced a probability fluctuation. A quantum event that the Veln's perfect static reality had eliminated from its calculations. A single, random virtual particle pair sparked into existence where none should be. In a system demanding perfection, it was a single grain of sand in a universe-sized gearbox. The flaw propagated. The resonant field, instead of forming a smooth, expanding bubble of stillness, began to ripple. The ripples became waves. The waves became standing interference patterns. On the bridge of the curiosity, they watched as light, real warm, chaotic light in a billion colors, began to dance across the seed surface. Auroras born not of solar wind, but of conceptual conflict. The geometric canyons glowed with internal fire. The towering spires seemed to vibrate, humming a new, discordant, and interesting song. What is happening? Idris whispered. It's rejecting the program, Eris said, tears streaming down her face, not of fear but of awe. We didn't break it. We confused it. We gave it a choice. Between being a perfect tomb, or a messy living thing. And it's choosing. Archon Kalen staggered, his carapace ringing with dissonance. The hive mind was in tumult. The shared vision of eternity was gone, replaced by a terrifying, exhilarating, brief flash of what it was to be human. To feel, to lose, to hope against impossible odds. He saw through 1,000 human eyes, a sunset on a Pacific beach, the crushing pressure of the ocean deep, the silent majesty of a mountain peak, the claustrophobic warmth of a crowded family meal. He felt a lifetime in a microsecond. And he understood, with a horror that was also a revelation, that his perfect eternal future was boring. It was dead. It had never been alive. He looked at the celestial seed, his life's work, and instead of a perfect jewel, he saw a prison. A beautifully crafted, eternal prison. With a chime that was a sob and a command, he screamed into the hive mind. Abort the awakening. Disperse the resonance. Now. It was too late for a clean stop. The process had too much momentum. But the Veln engineers, their own consciousnesses flooded with humanity's transmission, fought not to stabilize the seed, but to vent its energy. The celestial seed didn't explode. It sighed. A wave of soft, golden light erupted from it, a wave of transformed energy. It was not the sterilization wave. It was something else. It passed over the curiosity, and every alarm fell silent. The ship was bathed in warmth. On the bridge, the crew felt a profound, momentary peace, a sense of connection to every other human, and strangely, to the Veln themselves. The wave washed over the Veln armada, and the cold crystalline ships glowed from within with a newfound gentle light.